I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from YourBlackWorld.com, and you saw a few weeks ago where I spoke with Etan Thomas, who is among many things. He is he's an NBA player, but he's also an extraordinary human being. He is the author of the book, and I want to make sure I say this right: Fatherhood: Rising to the Ultimate Challenge. And he's on a mission. He's on a mission to talk about fatherhood. Not just in our community, but really in all communities. But our community is the one that is and should be paying the most attention to the message. And so I want to explore this issue further. And so first of all, I want to ask Etan, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm pretty good. I'm blessed.
Oh, good. Now, I know you're on the road, and I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. You wrote an article recently where you were referring to President Obama, and you were referencing him as an example of how even though fatherhood is encouraged, and we're encouraging each other as men to appreciate the value of fatherhood, kids from single parent homes are not necessarily set up for failure or doomed for failure. Can you talk a little bit more about your article and what you were saying in that piece?
Well, that's really basically what it is. You know, I mean, I came from a single parent household, and I heard all the negative statistics all the time being just spewed at me from adults. And you know, the negative statistics that says if you're from a single parent household or a broken home or a certain situation, you're probably going to end up in jail or in prison, or the women are going to end up pregnant or drop out, something terrible. And what I really wanted to do, and what I want to do with these panels that I put together, is just inspire young people. So the book came out. The book it came out great. The publishers are happy. You know what I mean? So that part's finished with. And now I want to turn the book into a movement. You know, so what I've been doing is I've been partnering with a lot of different churches and organizations and things of that nature, and having men from all walks of life, you know, different athletes, entertainers, actors, everybody, and we all talk fatherhood. So I did it in New York, did it in two places, two churches, Crenshaw Christian East, and then New Hope in Brooklyn. And it was great. You know, John Starks came out to one. I mean, Tito Puentes came out to the other. And there was Billy Hunter and Malcolm Shabazz and Dave Zirin and Lenny Green from WBLS. And we all just talked. We all just talked fatherhood, everybody's perspectives, everybody's opinions. And it's really just inspiring young people that there are other people who have gone through what you're going through right now. And it's like, you know, none of us are fatherhood experts. Ain't nobody no expert. I don't even know if there's such thing as a fatherhood expert. You know what I mean? I mean, every day I'm learning with my kids. Like, I have 3 beautiful little kids, and every single day I'm learning something new with them. But, you know, I really just want to inspire young people. Just tell them, no, you know, you can be anything that you want to be, no matter where you come from, no matter what kind of situation you're in. And people always do, you know, talk about how it's important to have the fatherhood structure and a 2-parent household. And I agree with that. I'll say, you know, it's definitely important, and, you know, men should step up and all that. But my reason for writing the book, my reason for this entire issue is to inspire a younger generation, because this is the book that I wish I would have had when I was younger. You know what I mean? Me and all my boys, and we all grew up in single parent households, and we hearing all the different stories and different statistics, all saying how we're all going to fail and we're not going to be able to make it in life. And you know what I mean? We have a problem with authority. We have everything negative that they always say. Now I want to just show people, there's other people who are able to make the right decisions, the right choices. And doesn't mean it's going to be easy. There's definitely going to be hurdles. You know what I mean? There's definitely different things that you have to fill in and have positive role models, because you don't have a father figure in your life. You have to look out for different things that society has set up for you so you don't fall into those traps. There's all these different things, but I want to show them that it is possible, because these are these other men who have done it. And the best, one of the best examples is President Barack Obama. I mean, he talks about it in his book. He talks about how he didn't know his father. He met him one time, met him another time, and you know, he was raised by his mom. And he talks about how he still had that feeling of wanting to have your father there. You know what I mean? He still had that same anger and that same resentment. And, you know, he said he would have made certain decisions that his life might have been different if he had his father there. And so it's like, you know, you see President Barack Obama's story, and you can identify with it, because that's what you're going through right now. And he made it to be the president of the United States. So it's like, if he can make it to that point, you know what I mean? You can make it to whatever point that you want to make it in life. So that's really the goal, is just inspiration.
Well, I think that's I like the way you make that point in your article, and I felt that it was important, you know, for those points to be shared, you know, with as many people as possible, because you're not saying that everybody should aspire to have a single parent home. You're saying that, you do your best to create a 2-parent situation, but if it doesn't work out, the child is not doomed for failure, which I certainly agree with, because I think that conversation has to be carefully had, because you have a lot of people who might be raising their kids alone, who say, oh, well, my baby doesn't need their daddy. Etan Thomas told me my baby's going to be just fine. Right. So
I'm definitely not saying that at all. I mean, it's just an unfortunate reality that right now there's a large percentage of, it's 1 in 4 across the board in America. So we're talking about black kids, white kids, Spanish kids, Asian kids, across the board. Is out of every 4 kids, you know what I mean? And they're grown up in a single parent household. So what are you going to do with that percentage? That's a large percentage of kids. So you can't just preach negativity to them all the time. You have to tell them, no, you can make it. There are other people, other men that you can look at that you can make it. You know what I mean? That's why I wanted them to hear from all these different men. Don't just take my word from it. Hear Ice Cube, hear Yao Ming, hear Tito Puente, hear Damian Marley, hear everybody. Somebody for everybody. You know what I mean? To hear Tony Hawk and Andre Agassi. Hear Mumia. Just everybody. And everybody telling you that you can make it and sharing their own personal experiences of their journey with fatherhood. And it's just learning from other people's experiences.
Well, and I really like that. I like that approach, because it almost seems like you're coming from 2 different points of view. On one hand, you are speaking to other men and saying, look, fatherhood is a joy. It is a joy and it's a responsibility. It's difficult and it's fulfilling, and every now and then it's fun. The accomplishment. Well, the product is fun, but the day-to-day work. I mean, that's your obligation as a man. So, and I think that's an important message for those guys that do grow up and they see the thrill of interacting with women, but they don't understand that comes with responsibility. When that baby comes out, that's your baby too. You need to be there. Right. You can't just go run off doing what you want to do. But then on the other hand, what I like is you've got this other side of the message that's saying, look, your circumstances, your cards are dealt the way they're dealt. We know about the systemic factors. We know about things like racism. We know about various forms of oppression that exist in our society. And you should be aware of all of those obstacles as you live your life. But there's a point where you can't keep making excuses. You can't allow the negative to consume you. You can't sort of commit yourself to being part of the negative side of the distribution. You have to commit to becoming a positive side of the distribution, or part of the positive side, right? So I agree with where you're coming from. I mean, it's interesting because, when I think about my own background, my dad also, hit the bricks when I was a baby. I mean, my daddy was 15 years old when my mother got pregnant, and he went to prison for selling drugs. He did not want to be a father. I've met him twice in my life, and I didn't like him either time. Now, where I can say, and this is where I don't feel sorry for myself, when I was 3 years old, there was another man that stepped in and married my mother and raised me as if I was his own. I didn't even know he wasn't my real father until I was 11 years old. And it is interesting because, and this is where I think your conversation is so critical, is because he even points to things that I was learning and doing as a 3-year-old that would have been very bad for me in the long run, because I did not have a father figure there to teach me, how a man should conduct himself. And so as a result, from this man, I learned strength, I learned honor, I learned responsibility, I learned all those things that a good father husband learns. And unfortunately, we have too many of our kids that are missing that. So, and I'm going to let you speak on this now. So in these fatherhood panels that you're doing across the country, one of the things I see as an immediate benefit with you inspiring so many kids is that we have so many young men, I think, who can benefit from other men teaching them early about the things that are required for you to be an adequate male role model in your own community, for you to grow into a real man and not just get your model of manhood by listening to your favorite rapper. Can you speak more about that and about your panels?
Oh, well, definitely. And I think one of the things about the panels is it's not coming from a standpoint of shaking my finger at somebody. You know what I mean? I never responded to that when I was younger, and young people don't respond to it now. So that's not at all what's going on in the panels at all. It's more of just learning from other people's experiences. So when men are talking about the beauty of fatherhood and how much joy they have with their children. And, you know, I talk about my son Malcolm and, you know what I mean? And him learning and what I could teach him and, you know, shaping my daughter Imani and Sierra is beautiful. So it's more so of sharing those experiences and then kind of showing you this is what you're missing out on if you're not being a part of this. You know what I mean? So it's just showing, like, you know, how beautiful it is. But, you know, for me personally, what I really like with the panels, what I'm seeing is it's therapeutic for us. We all getting therapy. You know what I mean? And that's why I love having the poets. You know, poetry is always a passion of mine. And Brother Beardoon from the Last Poets was in New York and turned it out. You know what I mean? And we have Jay Ivey and Messiah Ramkison, and I'm gonna have Talam Acey and Lamar Hill, and you know what I mean? And everybody, and you start off with the poetry, and you hear the different poet stories. So you hear the passion, or you hear the anger, or the fact of that they still had that in them, or they had to overcome it. Especially Jay Ivey, his poem "Dear Father" is so powerful, but it kind of teaches you that everybody has situations. You know what I mean? And you might look at somebody else's situation and you see, you know what? I can't really complain because they got it real bad. You know what I mean? It's like that saying, the man with no shoes didn't know how good he had it until he saw the man with no feet. Well, when I was younger, that's what I needed to see. Because I grew up at a time where I had a lot of anger inside of me because my father wasn't there as much as I wanted him to be. You know what I mean? So, but then I would get jealous of different guys that would have their fathers with them. You know what I mean? Or I'll see them in the park or whatever, and they have their father. Or you go to like a Boy Scout meeting or something like that at school, and other guys are there with their fathers, and your father's not there. You know what I mean? That's where that anger comes in. And I see it now when I'm with my son Malcolm. You know, taking him to the court with me, and I see little boys looking at us, and I can tell what that look is because I know that look. I remember it. You know what I mean? It's a look of envy and jealousy because they have what you want. You know what I mean? But what I needed to see other men who had said, I mean, I remember talking to different guys and they were like, wow, you get to see your father once or twice a month? That's wonderful. I ain't seen my father since Christmas. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, wow, since Christmas? Are you serious? So when you start seeing, it makes you have an appreciation for what the efforts that your father did make. You know what I mean? It kind of helps that healing, that anger process. And we've seen guys at these panels that really are affected by it. They, you know, when Malcolm Shabazz was talking about how he turned to the streets, and he said the streets was his father. You know what I mean? So he turned to the OGs. He turned to the cats that was, you know, they took him under his wing. And that's Malcolm X's grandson. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's like, and he's talking about it with that passion. And young people, I can see them. You know, like when you could tell young people are locked in. And they're really feeling what you're saying. You know, sometimes young people can look at you and they're looking and they're not hearing a word you're saying. They're just looking at you with a blank stare, right? But you can tell when they're like, and then the questions they ask afterwards, it was great. I mean, the way that Tito Puente was talking about how his father was great. He was the great Tito Puente. You know what I mean? But he was gone all the time. He said that the hardest thing was having Tito Puente as his father because he was on the road, on tour, doing everything. So it was like he was gone. And he was like, he had vowed never to do that to his kids. So it's just really like a big healing process for everybody, like what it turns out. And I wish I would have been able to see men talking about this when I was younger because it would have helped. You know what I mean? It helped me grow with my process. It took me a while to grow with that. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm so passionate about this because I know that young people are hurting. Even if they don't want to admit it. I didn't want to admit it. I ain't never talk about none of this stuff. You know what I mean? Now I write a book and I'm talking about it all the time. But that's because I've gone through the whole process of healing. And healing is important. It really is. Because I deal with men in correctional facilities all the time that have this anger inside of them and it explodes in different ways. And that's why I deal with them. That's why I have a passion to go in there because I can see myself in them. You know what I mean? It's just one little thing that would have changed and my whole life would have been different. So it's just by the grace of God that I didn't end up like that. But I had a lot of friends that did. You know what I mean? I had a lot of homeboys that I played AAU with that did, that went down certain paths. So that's why I had this passion because, you know, young people, they need to know. They need to know they can make it.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, man, they have that saying that hurt people hurt people. And if you look at the violence, the black on black violence between black men and the way we hurt each other, you know that the pain that we inflict on one another comes from the pain that others have inflicted on us, or that the pain that we're feeling on the inside. So, I agree with you. I think that this healing is absolutely critical. The healing is important for women who didn't have their fathers. I participated, in the film, Father's Day. I hosted the premiere in New York about maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And it was interesting just kind of, really talking about how children of both sexes are so heavily affected by this. And so I think that you're right. Fatherhood needs to be discussed, and I'm glad you're discussing it. And I'm going to tell everybody I know to read your book, because you've done an extraordinary job, man. And I also love, and I'll say this until the day I die, I love the fact that you, that you as a black male athlete with all the power of your platform are really determined to translate that into as much positive energy as possible. So I certainly respect you for that. And I think other guys who have that same mindset should get more exposure in media. And also hopefully other guys who have thought about doing what you're doing will become encouraged by what you're doing. So keep it up, brother. You have all my respect, my man.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. And, guys are doing a lot of positive things. That's why it's great to have outlets like you to be able to present it. Because a lot of times, the mainstream outlets, they're not presenting us a positive light. They're not. Right. You know what I mean? I go out and do something negative right now, that'll be on top of the news. You know what I mean? But they won't present positive things. So it's a blessing to have a lot of our people having their own news outlets to be able to tell their own story. I mean, that's really important. And we're going to keep it going. I want to bring this panel to Syracuse. And yes. I would love for you to moderate it. I'm going to talk to different guys from Syracuse, different former players and things like that. And, I've been in contact with Dave Tyree and Derek Coleman and John Wallace and all of them, Billy Owens. And, we just talk fatherhood. And it's a beautiful thing that young people really need to hear. It's bigger than a book. The book is fine. The book is going to do what it does. But I wanted to create a movement to really inspire young people and change an entire generation, entire mentality.
All right. Well, that's what Black leadership is all about, man. God bless you, brother. Thank you so much for your time, man. And everybody, this is Etan Thomas. He is the author of Fatherhood: Rising to the Ultimate Challenge. And in fact, I'm not even going to really reference him very much as an NBA player, because I think that might end up being a footnote in his legacy, even though he had a good, long, and strong NBA career. So you take care, brother, and I certainly enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me.
All right. And thank you all for checking us out at yourblackworld.com. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.